building the knowledge base of the entire travel industry. That's why we're doing it. Today, I have Irene Sauger, who's coming on board, and she has a pretty interesting story. And it shows that this is a great business and a great industry if you run it like a business. And that's what she's done. So without further ado, let me bring her to the stage. There she is. Howdy doody. How you doing?
Hey, Mark. Good. Thanks for having me today.
No, this is awesome. Thanks for taking time out of your day. So give us a little background. How'd you get started in the business? Full-time, part-time, working for somebody else?
Well, I took my first trip to Jamaica about 16 years ago with my sisters. And it was a time where my children were going to be, my youngest was going back to school. I was a stay-at-home mom for a little bit. And I said, I got to do something to get me back to this island as often as possible. And so I met a travel agent by the pool. She kind of pointed me in the right direction. I found a local host agency, and the rest is history on that. I worked part-time at first, but I got some really great advice from a travel advisor that says, if you're going to keep working, this is a part-time job and then 2 other part-time jobs, or, trying to make ends meet, because in the beginning it's hard because the money's not coming in right away. So I was working another part-time job to have the money come in right away. And they said, if you do it that way, you're never going to be successful. So I jumped right in and I became full-time. And about 4 years later is when I started Vacation Guru, which is my agency. And that was about 11 years ago.
Wow. So what's that ride been like? Talk about the challenges that you faced in the early going.
I think you can't build your business in the industry today like you could 11 years ago, like you could 15 years ago, because everything is just changing so rapidly. And with social media, social media was just coming out at that time. There weren't, private Facebook groups and ads and all this other stuff. So you actually had to go out, you had to do events and meet people and pass out your business cards and do whatever you can to be seen and ask your friends and family for help. And today it's not like that. It's a whole different beast. And you have to, we use this word pivot a lot, but you have to pivot to do your business a different way. And so I feel like I made mistakes failing forward into success along the way.
Interesting. So what do you think the biggest challenge, if somebody was going to start today, what would their biggest challenge be today? Or is now a good time to become a travel agent?
I think now is a great time to become a travel agent. I think the thing that you have to do is get in the right agency. There's so many agencies and they're hiring, and you don't have to take the first one that comes along, and you shouldn't take the cheapest one, and you shouldn't, decide what you want out of an agency, interview multiple owners and find out where is the place that you fit best, because owning an agency and being a travel advisor are 2 different things.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now, so you have a bunch of independent contractors that work with you today. And so would you bring on a couple initially and then it just grew from there?
Yeah, in the beginning, it was weird because I didn't even really know what I was doing, to be honest. I was a travel advisor. I wish that I would have just went and found the right place instead of starting my own at that time. With 4 years of knowledge is not very much to start your own agency. And then now it becomes a business and not just you selling trips and getting to experience those destinations. So it kind of fell in my lap. Just people came to me. So I kind of was hiring everyone, throwing them at the wall and see if they stick. Some didn't, some did. And I do have someone that's been with me pretty much since day one. And he is a part-time agent, but he takes this very seriously, and he's grown a tremendous business.
So let's take that gentleman. We won't disclose any names to protect the innocent here. And the beatings will commence if they don't sell enough. We know that. So this gentleman who's been selling, like, what kind of income did he see, or does he see today after putting in the hard work and building it on a part-time basis? What kind of revenue? Forget income. What kind of revenue can he do?
Revenue he could do. He's over $500,000.
Part-time, $500,000 part-time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. And what's his specialty? What does he focus on?
Well, and that's also an interesting story. So when you're starting out in the industry, you want to take everything you could get because that's the way you're going to make money is when people travel. But the best thing to do is find what you do best, find what you know best because you sell what you know, and then stay in your lane. So in my agency, we have things set up where you might not be an expert in a certain area, but somebody on the team is. So they'll take that client and serve the client better than you can because you don't know that particular destination. And he sells three things, and he's narrowed that down in the past. I would say the past 4 years, where he's kind of went, I'm going to go a little bit more narrow. And since he's done that, and then if some of his clients come to him and say, hey, I want a trip to Europe, he doesn't do Europe. So then we pick out somebody on our team that does a great job with Europe, and they take that client for that one trip. So, but with him, that's been the secret sauce.
So is that a problem with those independent contractors? Because think about it, like I'm going to give up that commission, or am I getting a piece of that as part of your structure in the business? Like, in other words, so he's got to get something because it's his customer, right?
Correct. We do a referral. Like he's bringing the client to us. You're getting a client that you didn't have to market or get, and it's a qualified client. And so there is a little bit of each person is making out good on that.
Okay. Yeah. Cause he's getting the expertise that he doesn't have. He's keeping the customer happy. The agency loves it because, the customer's not going to the other one. Would you say that how many total ICs do you have today?
25.
And you break them into different buckets, basically based on their area of expertise. Do you ask them to focus in a certain area, or do they just kind of self-choose that?
I lead them to, but I do remember what it was like. I have that being there and doing that. And I've been there, done that. I know what it's like in the beginning to have to take everything because you just don't know. And sometimes you have to take a lot of different things to find out what you really like and what you're good at. So I try to lead them down, like narrow it down. And usually after spending like 8 hours on a trip and they don't know what they're doing and they need help anyway, then they kind of get it for the next go around. But you kind of have to have those experiences in order to make that decision.
That's cool. So you were telling me at the beginning here that you went to Jamaica, you fell in love with Jamaica, and because of that, you became a travel advisor. Tell me what you love about Jamaica and why.
I get this question all the time, especially when I'm with the Jamaica Tourism Board, but I really will say it is the people. And at that time, I'm kind of high strung. I need things a certain way. And I remember having breakfast one morning and the waitress pushed a drink to me, and it was soursop juice. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a fruit that's indigenous to the Caribbean. Other places call it guanabana. In Jamaica, it's called soursop. And she said, drink this, it'll calm your nerves. And it just felt like it did. It calmed my nerves. And then when you talk to people, they know, hey, the coconut does this and it's good for your back and it's this and that. Like everything you eat or drink there, people are there to let you know why you're doing it and what you're doing it for. So I would definitely say that people, they're warm and welcoming. I think they're known as the happiest people on earth. And somebody did a study about how, where depression lies, but then there's still happy people. So it's very interesting. But the beach, it has everything. So you have the beaches, beautiful beaches, but then you have the mountains too. And you have the rainforest and you have the city, and it's just something for everyone. So but it's mostly the people for me.
Oh, that's cool. Cause I have a weird story that I wrote about in one of my books, and it was involving coming back from meeting up with Butch Stewart, the man who started Sandals. Obviously, his son is taking over, doing a great job, Adam. And, it's interesting because this guy, I was talking to somebody next to me, and it might have been my 50th trip to Jamaica. I'd been to Jamaica so many times, I lost track. And he's like, well, I've been there, 110 times and this and that. And I was like, oh, do you have a business down here? I can't tell you what he said to me. I don't want anybody buying my book. The book was written 12 years ago. So I don't even know if there's still copies on Amazon. There might be, there might not be. Who the heck knows? But it was an interesting thing. And then the gentleman was not doing that well. And he wanted to switch seats with me, but he was coughing and hacking. And the chapter in the book was called First Class Germs, because we were in the first first row, the A and B seats, and he wanted to switch. And I said, I'm good. Don't worry about it. I'm good. Oh, well, come on, switch. I said, nah, you stay in the window seat. It's good for you. I get up to go to the bathroom. He goes and sits in my seat. And I sunk into the chair, and I'm not joking. 3 days later, I was sick as a dog. Sick as a dog. So, that was the downside of that trip, but the other 49 trips,
right.
So, I really enjoyed it. Now, you just got back from a place where I think in the 1990s, right after Sandals took it over, Dunns River, they took it over, they remodeled it. I did a company meeting there, and I brought 50 or 60 people there for that, and it was awesome. We had a great time. You just got back. I haven't been to Dunns River, Sandals Dunns River, in ages. What's going on in that property? What do you love about it?
So there's a little history there too, because there was a brand that took that over in the interim.
I remember. Yes, that's right.
So when it reopened, I try, Mark, a lot of people call themselves experts, but you can't go to some place once and call yourself an expert. I'm in Jamaica at least 4 times a year. And each of those trips, I try to see as many properties as possible, and mostly because it changes. But I got to see Dunns River when it first opened. I got a tour of it, but I didn't stay there. So you get a good sense and you get all the details, but you don't have, the stay there kind of thing. So the year before, when they first opened, I got to tour it. And then this past July, I went back with my husband, and that's a totally different experience than going with travel advisors. And then I came back there. I was with a fam in December and got to experience it for the second time. And there's nothing, I can't compare it to anything. It's definitely firsts in the Sandals brand. And if you're, like, I would say this, if you love rum, if you're a rum connoisseur, amazing, because they have the Sandals, the Dunn Rivers, the rum club. Oh my word. The Dunns River Rum Club there, and over 30 varieties of rum. And it's not like, when you go sometimes to all-inclusive resorts, the really top shelf stuff costs more. I ordered a flight just to try something, and I thought how much extra is this going to be? They're like, oh no, it's included, like top of the line rum included, which was phenomenal. And then they also have a coffee shop called Bloom, and it's Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee, but it's kind of like elevated Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee. And they have all different, they have a coffee siphon. If you're a coffee connoisseur, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That was the most exciting part of my husband's trip, is getting that coffee siphon made for him every day.
And who's the right customer for that product? And it's interesting. So you're saying that is top of the line luxury right now in the Sandals family. Okay. So what's the average cost for a customer, like a couple? It's obviously couples.
Yeah.
Right. So what's a week run today? Because prices have gone up a lot all over the place.
You know what? Everybody, just for me, pricing, we just came out of a bridal show in January. So pricing a lot of honeymoons for this year and next year. I'm actually shocked at how much higher everything's jumped. But it's not just Sandals, it's everybody across the board.
Definitely.
And you have to understand, with all-inclusive resorts, you get what you pay for. I can find you one for $3,400 for the week, but you're not getting what you get at Sandals Dunns River. So
what are some of those things? Like if you're talking to a honeymoon client, right? It's their big trip. It's the one and only, we hope, right?
Yeah, right.
And so they do that trip. Yeah, we don't want a lot of repeat honeymooners. We want to just send you one time and then take your kids and go on your anniversary or whatever. Well, like, what are the differentiators when someone says it costs this? What am I getting for that? Obviously, you're getting everything included, premium liquors, the whole 9 yards, all the water sports, not the motorized water sports typically.
At Sandals, you do.
All right, there we go. So if I want to take a jet ski out, that's part of it?
Not jet skis, and jet skis are actually outlawed in Jamaica overall.
Wow, I didn't know that. When did that happen?
It's been a while, and I'm telling you this right now, and then you're going to go there and you're going to see people on a jet ski and you're going to think I'm lying. I am not lying. Yep. But if you're a private owner, like Mark, you and I buy a villa in Ocho Rios and we buy a few jet skis and then we want to take them out, we can. And then we want to, unsuspecting people, go ahead and rent our jet skis out to those people. We won't be able to get insurance on those things, but you'll see them, but they are outlawed. And it has to do with accidents and too much drinking. You know, the rum and the sun are your
Yeah.
danger points in Jamaica.
You know, it's sad because sometimes people go out and they've never been on one. And you don't go on vacation and get on a jet ski if you've never been on one. I live on the water here in Fort Lauderdale. I've got a 85-foot dock that I'm not a boater. I just like the water, but I do have, my paddle boards and kayaks. And my buddy across the canal, he's like, dude, you got to get a jet ski, man. We can cruise around. I said, first of all, do you look at my skin? My last name's Murphy. The last thing I need to be doing is cruising around. I mean, I go at night, no problem, but I'll probably get hit by a boat. So yeah, I'm not a fan because they go so crazy fast and people have no idea what they're doing. And that makes a lot of sense because of the liability for the property, for the vendor. And then did the government ban them or did the private enterprises like Sandals say, nah, we're not doing that?
No, it's a governmental thing. There's a lot of, just like I was on a public beach there and it was just a funny thing because I knew they're outlawed. And then I saw just right next to a sign, only happens in Jamaica, where it says jet skis are outlawed. And then there's a guy with a jet ski renting them out right next to it. So,
now, some of the things that people say about, Jamaica is, well, it's dangerous off property, right? There's certain places you don't want to wander off to. So how do you coach clients on that? Why, what do you tell them? Because some people will say, well, I hear it's dangerous. I hear it's dangerous. And they live in New York City and ride the subway, right? And you say, I think you're going to be okay at the all-inclusive. They've got security. You get transfers. You're taken care of start to finish, right? How does that work?
Well, one thing is I'm a big advocate of discovering and experiencing the place that you go visit. When people say, I've been to Jamaica, and I say, where did you stay? And they say, well, I went on a cruise. Well, that's not visiting Jamaica. That's stopping over on a cruise ship. You're really not getting to experience it. But the same is if you go and stay at an all-inclusive resort and you never leave the property. So you do want to go and experience things, but you want to do that with guidance, just like any other city. I mean, I think it is funny. My first trip to New York City, I was terrified. And I don't know, I was afraid to go in the subway. I was afraid to do everything. I had a couple friends that lived in New York to kind of guide me, but any city here, anywhere, like in the small, I live in Birmingham, Alabama. I wouldn't go in certain neighborhoods here, but
Right.
I know that because I live here. So you kind of got to know where to go and where not to go. But tourist areas are definitely not the danger zone. The biggest commodity in Jamaica is tourism. That's how they make their money. They don't want to scare off tourists. So they provide safety in those areas. And of course, you can't guarantee safety to everything in every single place at every single time. So I do say explore, but do it wise. And if you're using a professional travel advisor that does specialize in Jamaica, they do know how to get you to those places and for you to experience authentic things without just staying on property the whole time.
All right. So give me a day in the life at Dunns River. You get up, you have a beautiful breakfast. No.
You have to go to Bloom Coffee Shop first.
Oh, you get your coffee first. That's how. Yeah.
So it's really neat because the road that is from, where you get off of the main road and then you drive in, they have made that whole drive is so gorgeous. The landscape, the flowers, everything is just so gorgeous. From the second you hit those gates, you're already feeling the luxury. And then they have a big fountain and you're driving by, and then you're going to drive by the coffee shop, Bloom, and then across the way are the Roundeville Village. So they have little roundevils, little villas at this property. So when you were asking what sets it apart, they have some really unique experiences as far as rooms go. And one of those are the Roundevils. They even have a 2-story one where it comes with a telescope so you can stargaze from that. So nothing like that, private pool there. And then, we're going back to the coffee shop. Next to that is going to be the rum club. And then next to that, there's one of the restaurants. And then next to that's the spa. And then you get to the main building where the bus is going to drop you off and you're going to do your check-in. But it's like a little walk, like you're getting a walk in the morning. So to start out your day, I would suggest getting up and going down to the coffee shop to go ahead and experience some of their really, really, really good coffee. And then
And
you would
so
go in. Go ahead. Sorry.
you do that, and then you maybe go to the pool, or maybe you go to the gym, whatever somebody wants to do. I like to have my coffee, get a workout in, and then go to the pool afterwards and relax at the pool, and then go have lunch, and then decide, oh, maybe I'll play some tennis or something in the afternoon. Do they have a golf course nearby that they work with? Did you have
They
clients?
They
Okay.
do. Sandals actually has their own golf course in Ocho
Yep.
Rios. So when
Yep.
you're staying at one of those properties nearby, you will get unlimited golf. There's a couple charges, but you do get unlimited golf. And that golf course, I did a tour of it in December. Haven't been there in a very long time. We took golf carts out on all 18 holes, and they told us that, I don't have this. We'll have to drop it in the notes later, but I think it was whatever above sea level. So you're literally standing at the first hole and you're looking far out and you can see the sea in the distance.
Oh,
So
that's
real
cool.
cool experience. You see palm trees and you see big other kinds of trees, and it's just gorgeous. So if you're a golfer, this is the place for you. Any of the Sandals resorts in Ocho Rios would be a place for golf.
So one of the things about Sandals is they have incredible brand awareness. They do a lot of television advertising. Everybody, I think, that has ever thought about traveling to the Caribbean has seen a Sandals ad. Do you find that the customer, when you mention Sandals, oh, I know that, I know Sandals, but then you got a lot of properties to choose from, right? A lot of destinations to choose from. What are the objections you get in recommending Sandals, and how do you overcome them?
Sometimes, and I find with the younger people right now, they don't want to go where everybody else is going. So sometimes that popularity and the brand awareness and the fact that you see commercials with it hurts that end of it. But other times it actually helps us. We love it. We love it that these people are seeing ads about Sandals, and then they're going to come to us because there's like 4 million room categories at a Sandals resort. Did you know that, Mark? If you go to
Oh
look.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you could have one property and it have 35 room categories. And you're like, well, how many rooms are here? And yeah, it gets a little convoluted, I think, for the traveler. And that's why where you're there to explain it. So they all want to, they're all like, well, what am I getting, in this category? And if I spend a little more, this one.
Right. Everyone on my team is a certified Sandals specialist. We
Okay.
go through training with Sandals. We're certified with them. And then we have a very close relationship with our business development manager, who is always there to answer questions. Even I was doing a honeymoon the other day, and I had to text her and say, hey, what is the food like here? Is this a good one for food? Because I haven't been to that resort in a couple years. So I just want to know, comparing it to some of the others. Every Sandals has its own personality and has the thing that really stands out for it. So we know the personalities of all 7 resorts in Jamaica. You come to us, and then we're going to weed it down from those 35 room categories. We also know which room categories to get and not to get. Or if you just don't care and you're like, I want the cheapest room category, I'm able to tell you, well, this is why you don't want that room category, because you're not facing the ocean, you're across the hall, and you are overlooking the beautiful, like the grounds there. Remember, they have beautiful grounds. So you're not looking at like a garage or a parking deck or whatever. You're
Right.
looking at beautiful grounds, but you are not looking at the ocean on that side. And then those rooms, it's kind of like real estate. Like if you buy a house that's out in the country, far away from everything, from the convenience of things, you're going to get a really great house, and it's going to be cheaper, but you're going to have to drive a long way to get to places. That's kind of
Right.
how it is with all-inclusive resorts and where your room is situated. Sometimes that price is because of where your room is located.
Now you mentioned the BDM. How important is it to have a good relationship with the BDM? I mean, obviously they can answer that question for you. And it sounds like the person you deal with doesn't all, who is it, by the way? Who's the person you deal with?
I have the best, Amanda Funk.
Amanda. All right. A shout out to Amanda Funk. All right. So Amanda, you got a huge fan here. And it's probably because Amanda, when you ask her a question, you don't get BS. You get straight up. Like she'll say, you know what? If that's their thing, then you want them over here at, let's say, Dunns River. Otherwise, you might want them over here at, Ocho Rios or whatever the property might be. Do you do a
Right.
lot of
And
snap?
you want those BDMs to be able to tell you the truth and whatever. What BDMs are not there for, like I said, business development manager. They're not there to hear your complaints or to help you. We have to do some jobs ourselves as a
Yeah.
travel advisor. Sandals does a phenomenal job at getting every single resort. I know all the key people. I have their email addresses. I know who the GM is at every resort. I know who the sales manager is, who the reservations manager is, the weddings department at every single Sandals resort. I have that right at my fingertips because I'm a certified sandals specialist and I get access to that.
And so that would be something, somebody who wants to sell more of this product, because it's very lucrative to sell it, right?
Very.
And it's interesting. What customers don't understand is if they book it themselves and they sort it all out, they're on their own and they're going to pay the same amount of money no matter what. Because a lot of consumers, unfortunately, I think the industry and the associations in the industry have done a very poor job. I've been in this business since 1991. I've been talking to different associations about, what you guys need to do? If I go out and talk to 95 travelers, they'll tell me, or 95, let's say 100 people, 95 will say, well, it costs me more money to use a travel agent. It's really amazing that 3 decades of doing this, and we still have that hurdle to overcome, as far as that goes. But it's interesting because the issue, I think, for the industry and for folks like you is you got to build a business. You've got to work your butts off to do it. You got to make sure that customer's happy, and things do go wrong. I mean, let's face it, there are issues when people travel. Everything's not perfect. Missed flights, missed transfers, whatever it happens to be. The room doesn't work for them for whatever reason. So give me a scenario. The room's not working. Somebody calls up. They're not happy with something. What's your first call?
Well, I'm going to back up 1 second
Okay.
because I think that what's really important is that travelers understand if you're not using a travel advisor, you're actually paying for a service that you're not getting.
That's a
And
great point. That's a great point.
Sandals does a great job because we're on the Sandals, thing here. We can talk about other brands as well, but they do a great job that if you call in and book your trip, the person on the phone is going to be able to tell you everything that you need to know. But they don't have your best interest at heart the way a travel advisor does. Your travel advisor gets to know you, has a relationship with you, and knows you. And yes, I'm trying to sell something because this is a sales job. And for those people that don't think it is, that we make money off of commission, it's a sales job. But I can sell you sandals, I can sell you anything. What I want is for you to come home and be really happy. If you're calling into one brand or booking online and talking to their chats or whatever, they don't have your best interest at heart. They have what they want to sell at heart for that day. And then you're gone and you're never going to talk to that person again. We develop a relationship with our clients and know how to steer them. And this is also resorts. They have to get to know us as well and know the importance of us, because I can steer the head of any one of my clients that trust me. I could say, you don't want to go there. And they will listen to me and we'll steer them somewhere else. So when there is a problem, because it happens, they'll call and I will get on the phone. I will get on the phone, or I will reach out. Usually I have the resorts that I recommend. I have key people at the resort that can put me in touch with the right person right away. But if there's an issue, I had a really big issue, during the big hurricane. We're able to reach out and get feedback and say, hey, take care of this problem right now. And my best BDMs are good for saying, okay, contact so-and-so, or let me put you in contact with so-and-so. I don't expect my BDM to fix it, but we can go to them to find out where we can go to get it fixed.
That's
and our big thing in the travel industry.
Yeah.
These resorts need to give their managers power to do something. You have my client that I sent you right in front of you. You should have some kind of power for recovery, which Disney's the best at recovery. Once you're standing in front of them and something's wrong, they'll take care of you. Don't throw travel advisors under the bus because a client is coming for a very valid complaint. Just fix it. They're right in front of you. At this point, they're your clients.
Yeah, I don't think travelers understand the fact that if you like, what is the average traveler? How many vacations do they take a year? At the high end, it's probably three, right? Three vacations a year. And they're not going to the same place every time. They're not going to the same place every year. They're not going to the same brand every time or every year. Somebody takes a cruise, might take a cruise once every 3 or 4 years. There's some that do it, a few times a year and only do cruises. God bless them, right? Very small percentage. And other than somebody who travels with the same supplier constantly, you as a consumer have zero leverage, zero. So even if you're dealing with, in some cases, a difficult situation and maybe even a difficult supplier, if you're booking 500 room nights or 1,000 or a lot more, I keep telling consumers, you can call all you want. You can kick all you want. If you booked it on Expedia, who are you going to call at Expedia? Nobody. What if the supplier says, you know what, this person's a pain in the neck and I don't want to deal with it? Yeah, they'll go write a bad review or whatever. But hey, I get like a 4.7 out of 5. One bad review doesn't hurt me. And this guy's a pain in the neck. You, on the other hand, could turn the spigot off on any supplier if they're not delivering, because you're not going to risk your reputation. And I think that that's something that individual travel agents really need to stress. Like, I may sound cocky if that be a travel agent. I may sound cocky, but here's the deal. How many times have you traveled in the last 5 years? She'll say, like 2 times a year, 10 trips. Okay, great. How many different places did you stay at? Oh, 6 different places, 10 different places. Okay. If something went wrong, do you think that hotel is going to bend over backwards to accommodate you? They might. They might if they do the right thing. On the other hand, if I sell that hotel every day of the week, 5 days a week, 300, and whatever, that would be, 210 times a year, and I'm booking 210 times, 7 nights, do the math. What's that, 1,540? It's 1,540 room nights. I call them, they're going to get moving and they're going to fix this problem. Otherwise, there's going to be hell to pay. And that's what I bring to the table as a travel agent. That's what I bring with that relationship. And yeah, you can go do the work yourself. It's like going remember Horn and Hardart, where you go in, you put your money in the slot and you pull out your sandwich. It's an old, they used to have it where you basically, with like the revolving thing, you pull your sandwich out. When I started work in New York, they literally had, I don't know what it was called at the time, but it might have been Horn and Hardart. And you'd go self-serve, you'd sit down. It's almost like going and driving to pick up my takeout order. And I get the screen and it's like, do I want to tip 18, 22, or 25%? And I'm going, what? I mean, I didn't cook it, but I paid you to cook it. So I have to laugh. I don't know. Is that something you stress with customers that are new customers with you, that you're the fixer, you got the leverage, and you sell brands where you have relationships and leverage?
I do. And that's exactly what I say. And I do have brands that I have on my do not sell list. And my clients that come to me, Facebook's a wonderful thing with those ads coming in front of you. And, lead magnets, if people don't understand advertising, they're hearing us talk. And now after this, you're going to have what's the best deal for a trip to Jamaica. And it's going to come up on your phone. And it's probably going to be a resort that I don't recommend. And so what I tell the client, if they're like, oh no, I want to go here, I want to go here, I end up saying, okay, but you have to sign a paper that says you will not complain. You can't come back to me and say one complaint at all, because every complaint that you're going to have, I'm going to say, I told you so. So if you still want to go, I'll send you over the DocuSign.
Okay. So I want you to, so you basically make them sign a waiver that says, it's almost like if you don't take the insurance, you can't hold me liable. If you don't take my recommendation, you can't hold me liable. How do they react when you tell them that?
Sometimes they'll just sign it. And this are the magic words that I love to hear. I should have listened to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I have a lifetime client that is always going to come back to me.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it reminds me of when my wife went to buy food and I said, go to Wegmans and get the sushi grade tuna, right? Because That's what you want. And instead, she was by her mom's house, went to like the local grocery store, and she goes to the fish counter. And the guy's like, she's like, oh, I want to get, a pound of tuna. And he's like, oh, no, you want the salmon. And she's like, no, 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 I want the tuna. And he's like, no, 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 you want the salmon. And then she's like, my husband doesn't like salmon. And yeah, he still wants the salmon. She bought the tuna. It was like $5 a pound. It was the worst. It wasn't even edible. And I laughed because it was like she didn't take the advice. She got the tuna, and it was, woo-hoo. I mean, you were eating like the fish out of your fish tank. That it was
Yuck.
bad. Yeah, it was gross. It was gross. So to bring it all back, so you're loving Sandals Dunns River.
Mm-hmm.
You are recommending that a lot to your higher end clients.
I am. Right? Yes.
And have you had a complaint yet?
No.
What did they say?
In fact, I have honeymooners that went last year, and they're going back this year for their anniversary. So.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, they're doing a nice job. And I do like the fact that they're creating the demand and the brand awareness, because a big challenge is if you recommend something they never heard of, they're like, huh? Like, well, what is that? And, it's interesting. Do you sell a lot of Mexico?
Yes.
Okay.
In Mexico, listen, competition drives the price down. There's more competition in Mexico. You can get a better quality than you can in some of the other islands. I mean, Jamaica is a small island if you look at it. Mexico is a big, large place. So if people are really price driven, then we always offer Mexico.
So the interesting thing, and I don't know if you've done this with anybody, but when I talk to people and I say, why travel agents? Why travel advisors? Well, I can do it myself, this and that. And I said, go to TripAdvisor and look up in the Cancun area, which includes like basically from the tip at the top, Cancun, the hotel zone, down to Tulum. I don't know what it is today, but the last time I gave that as an example, there were about 1,100 options. And I just said to them, I said, listen, if you can figure out on your own where to stay based on 1,100 options, fantastic. But there's a reason travel agents travel there constantly to destinations like Mexico, Jamaica, you name it. And then they bring back that knowledge, and then they turn around and say, hey, I've been there, I've seen it. And you said you go to Jamaica 4 times a year. And you basically, whether you want to go or not, I know you do want to go, but whether you want to go or not, you're just like, man, I'm going to Jamaica, and I've got to hit the clock one more time to get to Jamaica because I got to see what's new. Because as you said, things are constantly changing. So do all of your agents do that? Are they constantly traveling to and inspecting places? Do they have that flexibility as well? Or do you bring a lot of that knowledge back for them?
I usually bring the knowledge back from them. And then when my agents do travel, we meet once a week on a Zoom call. And so actually one of my agents was on a cruise over President's Day weekend. And then he had a border call in Nassau, and he went to spend the day at Sandals. So we got a double whammy on that. He talked all about the celebrity cruise he was on, and then all about Sandals Royal Bahamian. So we share our knowledge. So, as we travel. So, and everybody knows to come to me for, it wasn't that the resort you were just at. And then even so, like I'll meet with suppliers that come into town often, and then people can't make it, or they don't live near me, so they can't make it to those meetings. I'll always bring that back to your team. So as long as someone's traveling and someone's bringing that information and you have that firsthand knowledge is really what you need.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, Irene. So if you want to learn more about Irene, it's Irene Sauger, govacationguru.com. And thanks for spending some time with us here on traveltube.com, the place where people like you, the actual travel experts, not morons like me, who go on, and talk about whatever with Neil Cavuto, who's no longer at Fox anymore. To me, it's kind of funny. I have friends that reach out and they're like, hey, we're thinking of going to wherever, what would you advise? And I'm like, dude, call a travel agent. If you don't know one, I'll connect you with one, but I'm not going to help you pick the best all-inclusive to stay at. I'm not going to give you the best. I'm going to talk about the 50,000-foot trends, all that. And then typically with the TV hit, it's 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't get the talk about a lot of stuff. It's very myopic in terms of the topic. And it's typically like, oh, it's there's a snowstorm, there's a blizzard on Route 80, people are trapped. If they were traveling, what should they do? And I said, well, they should have brought me on 4 months ago to say, when you book the damn thing, talk to somebody who knows what the heck they're doing, because they'll say, you've got a cruise and you want to get to the cruise before it leaves. And if it leaves without you, you just flushed your entire trip down the drain, because you're not going to get reimbursed. And that's why these people are the ones you should be talking to. So excellent interview, great insights. And I think a lot of travel advisors are going to benefit from this, Irene, as well as consumers, when when we get this out the door and they start seeing travel tube all over the place. So thanks again very much.
Listen, our industry, the travel advisor industry, is very tight knit. I have stuff in my inbox every day. They call me Miss Jamaica. What should I do? And then they're using me for that. So then when something that I don't do very much of, I can call on them. We're more about collaboration over competition, and we're happy about that.
Yeah, and that's why I created Travel Tube, because I wanted to bring together the actual industry experts to share the knowledge. Because I think what happens is everybody's in the vertical. It's the consortium people, it's this people, it's that people, and everybody's got their own agenda on the levels of these large organizations that aggregate folks. And to me, we miss the grassroots, what you're talking about. And what I'm trying to do is take what you're doing with your 25 ICs and bring that to thousands, and have thousands of people come in and share those. Because again, you just went to Jamaica, somebody just went to Portugal, somebody just took a celebrity cruise, somebody just went to Hawaii. And why can't we share this collectively? So I would love to talk to some of your agents. I would love to find other people that you respect in the space that are experts. And, I'm here all the time. So anytime somebody wants to jump on, we're doing this on a Sunday. Anytime they want to jump on, I'm available. All right.
Right.
And thank you for making yourself available too.
And Mark, I know I've told you this in the past. Thank you for everything that you do for our industry. It really means a lot.
Well, I appreciate that. You take care. You have a great rest of your Sunday, and speak soon. Irene, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.